Mara, Joanne, Roy, and Nicole, Roz, and Donna, and Rebecca, and Risa. Okay. Risa, you're not visible. I need to see you. Okay. All right. It's good. We're going to get started. And this is one of those things when you want to, you're signing up to teach a course, you're going to want to do something which has constantly new material. And thank God, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and we're able to talk about it every other week, and there's always something new to worry about. So, in the spirit of despair, I'm going to start off with a question, not a statement. Okay? And the question is this. I would like to hear from you your responses to the Trump dinner with Kanye West and with Nick Fuentes. For those of you who may not know, but I'm sure everybody does, Nick Fuentes, 24 years old, is a first-class racist, proud of it. He is a dyed-in-the-wool committed anti-Semite. He is a fervent Holocaust denier. He is a white nationalist. He wants this country to be run as a Catholic country, and all others need not apply. When asked what he thought about January 6th, his answer was an enthusiastic, both hands in the air, it was great. Okay, so it's rather than starting off with my perceptions, I'd like to start with yours. So I see Steve, I see a whole bunch of people. Let's go Steve, Harvey, Rebecca, Howard, Merle. Keep me on track. Steve, Harvey, Rebecca, Howard, Merle, and we'll get to others. Steve.
I was not at all surprised. This is just Trump reverting to his natural self. What I think is more interesting and more surprising is what I see from ZOA, the Republican Jewish Committee, all of these Republican Jewish groups or oriented toward conservative still refuse to break ties with Trump and merely want him to apologize. And they condemn the dinner, but they still don't understand that at its core, this is just another example of there are good people on both sides. And it's really ingrained in him, and this is who he is.
Thank you. Okay, then I go next to tell me. Who's next?
Harvey.
Harvey, okay.
Yeah. Okay, very shortly, very simply, pox on both their houses. That's what I have to say.
What do you mean, excuse me, what do you mean on both their houses?
Well, on Mr. Trump and on the people he invited to dinner.
Okay.
Very simply.
Okay, fine. And then
and out west, we could say, I don't like you, and I don't like your horse either.
That's a good line. I don't like you, and I don't like your horse.
It's the horse you rode in on, Harv.
Yeah. Okay. And now who's next?
Me.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Rebecca. Yes.
It's the same scenario. Whoever has the loudest megaphone gets the most attention. But I want to go back to what Steve said. I think was it Steve? I just took a webinar yesterday, and a lot of these Jewish organizations are not democratic. In other words, they're only responsible to the board, their boards.
What are you saying? I don't get the point.
So the Jewish organizations are not maybe saying as much as we would like for them to say, because they report to the board. So whoever's on the board pretty much not necessarily dictates, but certainly puts the organization in a direction of what they communicate and what they don't communicate.
Super, thank you. Merle, are you next?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm not at all surprised at this. I think this is just not, it's his way of saying, this is who I am. If you don't like it, tough. But I also think it's his way of getting those elected officials, and as Rebecca was saying, different Jewish organizations to support him for his next attempt to run.
Okay, fine. I now have Howard, Susie, Doris.
I just finished this book by Maggie Haberman about Trump, and I think it's a great book. And if any, probably everyone already knows everything that's in the book, but it's not really. There's a lot of stuff in there that's new, and so there's nothing really. It's completely the exact same stuff that Trump was doing 50 years ago or 40 years ago. He hasn't really changed. So yeah, it just what else is new? And as far as the organizations are concerned, the ZOA, which I belong to still, or Suzanne and I belong to, very strongly condemned Trump for having that meeting and for abiding by associating himself in any way with this kind of anti-Semitism. So that is a fact.
Okay, Susie. Susie, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, here I come. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. There's not an adjective in my head that comes to me that expresses how disgusting that dinner party was. An embarrassment, well, that's an adjective. But mainly, I think that any Jewish person or anyone who has any feelings about being Jewish to support or not raise their voice like we're doing right now. That, to me, if they don't raise their voice, is totally a shanda. It's just awful.
Okay, I'm having a little bit of dissonance here. Forgive me, my mind is very shattered. I see the name Michael Weisberg, okay, but I know damn well that's not Michael Weisberg. Is it Michael Weisberg?
Hi.
Yes,
Oh
it
my
is.
God. What a pleasure to see you.
Yeah. Thank you. What a pleasure to see you too.
Okay, so quick, tell me, forget everyone else, where are you now in school?
I'm on my gap year. I'm between high school and college.
And what are you doing?
A couple different things, but largely I'm sort of trying to explore music, get better at that, and explore other interests. I'm hoping on taking a math class. I'm going to do my birthright trip to Israel, and hopefully I'm going to study philosophy as well.
Okay, you do remember, we're going to leave this, Michael. I gave you very clear instruction that you should go for a PhD in philosophy. You know that I did, and I'm going to hold my cards right where I was.
I am definitely considering it. I'm going to, yeah.
So it's part of my life that I try to control people as best I can. It's great to see you. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Doris.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I sort of think Susie sort of stole my thunder. I agree with her 100%. What he did was despicable, disgusting. Pardon?
No, I just think Susie's happy. Go ahead.
What he did was for him to say he didn't know who this guy was. Give me a break. He's one of the smartest guys on earth, and he knows exactly who that was that he invited into his home. And he should be ashamed of himself. He's got a Jewish daughter. He's got a Jewish grandchildren. He needs to be horsewhipped. That's all.
Okay, super. That's my list. Is that okay? Okay, Risa Shirley, you have your hand up.
Yeah, well, I came in just a little bit late. I'm more concerned about why he did it. He is, as we all know, a very successful and smart politician. He knows exactly what he's doing. What was his purpose? What was his goal? Was it to get us upset and talk about it this way? Was it to speak to what he thought his followers want to hear? There's a purpose to this. And I have no idea what the purpose was. It's a horrible thing. He shouldn't have done it, fine. But he certainly knew who they were.
Of course.
He's riling up his racist base. That's what his purpose always is.
I don't know what
I didn't hear what Steve said. I'm sorry.
I
What'd you
don't-
say? Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
I don't know what the conversation was about at the table. I doubt that it was about anti-Semitism.
No, Rebecca, it was not a fundraiser. It was not. I mean, many fundraisers occur, but this was not. This was Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey, stuffing, pumpkin pie, really. I mean, it was Thanksgiving dinner.
Why wasn't he with his family for Thanksgiving?
Look, well, I got enough problems. I don't have to figure out his social schedule. Okay, Michael, please.
I wonder if it's possible, and I don't know the situation super well, but I wonder if it's possible that he just, like, enjoys these people's company. Like, I know Kanye in particular has, like, been a massive fan of him in the past, and like, maybe he just likes the way that they make him feel while they're around, and it, like, wasn't a particularly... Because this doesn't, to me, seem like an intelligent political move. I could be wrong.
I don't think so. It was not.
No, I disagree. I think
Elegant.
his racist base loves to watch this and he wants them excited.
All right. Okay, cool. Okay, Donna, and then I'm moving on.
I was gonna say he's a narcissistic habitual liar, and that's all I gotta say.
That's terse.
It's true.
Michael, what were you saying? I'm sorry, I didn't read your whole note.
Oh, me, I was just saying regarding what Michael Weisberg said, that apparently Trump was quoted as saying after he had heard from Fuentes for a while, I like this guy, he gets me. So I think that idea that, I mean, he's always up for having people around who are going to praise him. So, it doesn't really matter who they are, what they do, what they stand for. If they like him, that's good enough for him.
Okay, last comment, then we're moving on. Susie. Susie?
I already spoke.
Okay, but your hand is still up.
Oh, I better get my hand down. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, so there we have it. I mean, you have expressed a wide variety of opinions. There are things that struck me only because it struck other people as well. How, on the one hand, how very slow the Republican leadership was, whatever leadership, what that means, to overtly, specifically condemn, just like that. It was a very slow process. Mitch McConnell came out finally, 3 months later? And that was a small exaggeration. He came out and he did that. But it was very late. People were very, very slow. I am going to recommend to you that you read, I was talking with Gilroy about this, Bret Stephens op-ed or whatever is it Today's Times? Maybe yesterday, Today's Times, I think. And Bret Stephens is one of my favorite people. He is a brilliant commentator with the Times. He is someone who was a full-blooded, full-bore Republican. I'm not going to do any description, changed to the Democrat Party and abandoned the Republican Party. And he is a full-scale moderate. Okay, he's Republican, he's Democrat. I enjoy reading him. He's not locked in one position. Today he said, that's it for Trump. His campaign for the president is over. Now, I see smiles. It doesn't mean, but I recommend that you read the Bret Stephens op-ed thing, because it's Bret Stephens, very intelligent. Comment was made, I'll get to others, comment was made about Mort Klein and the Zionist Organization of America, to which Howard is apparently a proud and committed member. Now, Mort Klein is a friend of mine, a friend of ours. He's a friend of ours. We have been to many conferences with Mort, and had, as a matter of fact, I invited him to address my congregation in Atlanta. He never got over that. He said, the president of ARTSA invited the president of the ZOA to speak at his congregation? Yeah, because I'm one of those weird, wild-eyed liberals who believe that people should hear different positions. There are also other stories connecting with Mort. Don't tell that story, Risa. Okay, he's a friend. Okay, he is very right-wing. He is the guy who led the battle barring J Street from being recognized as a Zionist organization. He is dyed-in-the-wool radical right-wing. Howard, you'll know this better than I. A month ago, they had a ZOA dinner honoring Donald Trump. He was the recipient of a major international award through the Zionist Organization of America. And Mort Klein at that dinner praised Trump a lot. Now, almost immediately, catch the difference, almost immediately after the Trump dinner, Mort Klein issued the following statement. I am a child of survivors, Holocaust survivors. I have become very frightened for my people because of that dinner. You hear that? I have become very frightened for my people. And he goes on. Donald Trump is not an anti-Semite. He loves Israel, he loves Jews, but he mainstreams, he legitimizes Jew hatred and Jew haters, and this scares me, close quote. I have to tell you, I haven't quoted my friend Mort Klein in a long time. But I thought this was, as the British would say, brilliant. This was.
May I ask a question?
You sure may.
How can you say he loves Jews if he legitimizes Nazis? That's contradiction.
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay, and we're going to have to live with that because it's true. Both sides are true. He has Jewish grandchildren, Jewish daughter, Jewish son-in-law. He is very good friends with Bibi Netanyahu. If Trump would become president of the United States and Bibi is prime minister of Israel, the odd couple would be at it again, and it would be a very difficult time. He also cohabits with anti-Semites, and he legitimizes them. and he acknowledges them and he walks in their midst. Both statements are true. I can't resolve that. Those statements are true. I have a quick from Michael and a quick from Howard and Sylvia. Okay. Michael, Howard, Sylvia.
Just because you raised the issue of Republican leadership response to the dinner and how late it was, I wanted to hit on that briefly. McConnell actually issued, however belated, an excellent statement. There was nothing wrong with it. But then when they asked him as a follow-up, would you still support him if he got the nomination? Of course he will. You know, the principle is fine as far as it goes, but it doesn't actually bind them from acting in opposition to that. And McCarthy, for his part, kept saying that Trump had condemned Fuentes' views, which actually he did not do and has not yet done, and is unlikely to, I would say, and is also in position to restore a couple of Fuentes' very good friends to committee membership in the House, which would be Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene, both of whom have spoken at Fuentes organized events. So the words of condemnation, such as they are, ring a little hollow because there's no action whatsoever behind them.
Just between the two of us, I'm not making any predictions. I don't do prophecy. It may be that McCarthy will be looking for a job in a few weeks. Okay? And so I empathize with him. He doesn't know where to go to pick up another couple of votes.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to bring some Nazis along. It's just how it goes.
And Risa, you will not yell. Mitch McConnell, are you under control? Mitch McConnell did say that no one who holds positions like that could be president of the United States. He did say that. So again, this is a strange day in which I have praised Mort Klein and given Mitch McConnell credit for a rather amazing statement. By the way, if Trump runs, is in nomination and so forth, Mitch McConnell's statement will be run by the Democrats 24/7. Okay? So there it is. It's not going to go away. All right, I got to be moving on. Okay. I know a couple more. I had Sylvia. I know I had Sylvia.
Okay. Donald Trump is his father's son, which means he was brought up to be an anti-Semite. They did not rent their apartments in New York to Jews until they had no choice because no one else had the money to pay for it. And whatever he says now about his love of Israel and his love of Jews, it's wallpaper. Deep down inside, the man is an absolute virulent anti-Semite, racist, and all kinds of other abominable things. So whatever everybody says, but oh no, he loves Israel, he loves Jews. No, absolutely not.
I am about to do my third unusual thing. This is I'm pouring sweat here. Just because Donald Trump's father was an anti-Semite and a crook, I know. All I want to say is, Risa, hold tight. John F. Kennedy's father, easy, Risa. John F. Kennedy's father was an anti-Semitic Nazi. And that wasn't John Kennedy. I just needed to throw that in.
Donald Trump was convicted of discriminatory rental policies in his housing project in New York after his father retired.
Yes, that's Sylvia. Fact. You're right. Fact. I just wanted to defend sons so they shouldn't always bear the guilt of their fathers. Risa,
In this case, he does.
I love John Kennedy. Please, okay? We have trouble in the family. She's from Boston.
I love Jackie O. I met my girlfriend's son went to school
I
with
think
John F.
people ought to
Kennedy
talk
Jr.
in turn.
Okay, I see Howard, and then again, I'm going to move on. There are more topics, many more. Howard?
I would like to also come from a slightly different direction, and perhaps people need to not be too self-righteous here. And going back to Mort Klein, in his statement where he certainly condemned what Trump did very thoroughly, he also pointed out that and talked about the embracement of Farrakhan by Bill Clinton, and the photograph of them with their arms around each other. And certainly Farrakhan is as much of a bottom-dwelling anti-Semite as you can find. And then Ilhan Omar, a current U.S. congressperson, was, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, even though they're mirror images of each other, certainly regarding Israel, she's a member in good status of the Democratic caucus and was not kicked off of her committee assignments. So somebody, I don't know who it is, said houses shouldn't throw stones.
Okay, I have to say, and this is hard for me, you know our relationship. You are correct on both points. Okay.
Well, Mort Klein said it.
Yeah, you're correct on both points.
Certainly,
the Clinton embrace of Farrakhan, no one ever really got through the excuses for that. Okay, and yeah, I do want to move on. We're talking about normalizing anti-Semitism in the United States. You know me well enough to know that I was not raised to find anti-Semites under my bed or in my bed or anywhere, okay? I don't believe that they are everywhere and they're after me. Having said that, I think we are in a terrible period right now. And the normalizing of anti-Semitism is not Donald J. Trump. If Trump would disappear tomorrow, that would not end the normalizing of anti-Semitism. We really need to hold on to that so that, hooray, Trump won't be nominated for president. Trust me, that fixes very little. We've got problems. For example, New York Police Department, NYPD, famous on television, many shows. The NYPD has confirmed 195 anti-Jewish hate crimes in New York since the start of the year. 195, okay? Since the start of the year on September 30th, representing a hate crime against Jews in New York every 33 hours. Okay, that's New York. The rise in hate crimes in New York corresponds to nationwide trends. Anti-Defamation League, 2,717 anti-Semitic hate crimes in the country last year, which is a 34% increase over the year previous. Okay, do I trust ADL numbers? Yes, I trust ADL numbers. Question. I don't know the answer to my question. The dinner at Mar-a-Lago is going to be blotted out by the shift in the news cycle. There will be other things. And what we're talking about today, 3 weeks from today, most good citizens of America will forget. The danger here is enormous. I don't see brown shirts marching in the streets of America, except they already have. I'm not talking in the 1930s. I'm talking about the Proud Boys and this whole paramilitary, anti-Semitic, anti-white, anti-black, anti-people of color, mass armed groups of people are all, we used to laugh. I used to laugh, ha, ha, ha. Montana, right? Did you ever hear of ZOG? Raise your hand if you know what ZOG is. Howard is yes? Okay, Howard, you're up. Tell me.
Zionist occupation government.
Yes. And what form of transportation does the Zionist occupied government specialize in?
That I don't know.
Black helicopters.
Ah,
I remember that was the big thing. Black helicopters. So if you lived in Montana and in Wyoming, that's where you believed that the ZOG, Zionist occupied government, is taking over everything. They believed that at any moment a black helicopter was going to swoop down and steal their guns. Okay? That was a laughable, isolated, they live with buffalo in Montana, fine. I believe that that virus has spread throughout the country and that it is no longer just Wyoming and Montana. Paramilitary groups are ready. What was the phrase that Trump used? Stand back and stand ready, or something like that? It was something like that.
Stand down and stand by.
Stand down and stand by. Thank you. Okay. So, will this concern about what's going on in America survive the next news cycle? Remember Trump's comment during the 2015, 2016 campaign when he got out of a friend's RV or something and described what he could do to any woman he wanted to because he's famous. And you know how that hit the press? It was very big. The news cycle moved on and people stopped caring.
They didn't care in the first place, the ones who were supporting him. So I don't know if that's accurate.
Well, there were a lot of people around Steve who expressed concern, and it went away. The question is whether what's going on today is going to go away. And I don't know the answer to it. I know that my grandchildren are trying to put on noise-canceling headphones so they don't have to hear this crap. What's going to happen? And what are we doing not to allow it to disappear, other than complaining bitterly? I am going to move now to my update on Israel, but I will take three: Rebecca, Joanne, Merle.
I think racism, anti-Semitism, white supremacy has always been underneath the surface, just kind of bubbling. And I think that Trump gave permission to bring it above ground. And even if he does go away, it's still going to be above ground. I don't know. I'm not very optimistic.
Thank you. Point well taken. Joanne.
I don't think it's going to go away because I think it's going to keep happening. I think every couple of weeks something will happen to bring it back into the news again.
Excuse me, is that good news?
No. Well,
No.
Maybe because it's going to keep things in the forefront. Bad
Okay.
news because it keeps happening.
Thank you. Merle.
I think what we have to learn from all this news, I don't believe it's going to go away. It's going to keep manifesting itself because because these people were given permission to manifest it. But I think that, to me, it's a reminder of what we have to do to protect ourselves and our families and friends.
All right, I'm gonna end. I have this great privilege of being the moderator. Okay, that, by the way, it's a privilege I granted to myself without a vote, in spirit of the times. I will insist that Americans remember what American society was like in the 1930s. I will insist. The virulent anti-Semitism, the virulent racism doesn't just disappear when it becomes politically incorrect to express it. And then when it becomes acceptable to express, it comes out. America is not changing. I fear America is reverting. And I'm really sorry that I said that. Okay, now good news. Good news. Hey, let's talk about Israel and all the good things happening there, and we can smile. President Biden has begun signaling that he doesn't like the Abraham Accords. This is a shock. You know, the Abraham Accords, credit given during the Trump administration, which has brought a number of significant Middle Eastern countries into diplomatic relationships with Israel and back and forth. And of course, the day after diplomatic relations, financial relations, and everybody is making money, and that's fine. I mean, okay, tourism is up to the Gulf states from out of Israel like you cannot believe. It's a small country, and all of a sudden they have more places to visit. So they're going. Biden is signaling that the Abraham Accords are wrong-headed, and he doesn't want to pursue trying to get Saudi Arabia into the Abraham Accords. A lot of international Jewish leaders are apoplectic with Biden on the issue.
Yep.
And Biden wants a better relationship with Iran. And the Abraham Accords were built on creating I'm going to use a strange word, an anti-Iran axis. Middle Eastern countries, Israel, share one thing in common. What is that? We've got to stop Iran, okay? So that became the sales base for building the Abraham Accords. Biden believes that the United States must improve relations with Iran, and that means he will not support the enlarging of the Abraham Accords. So I just thought I'd offer that.
May I ask a question?
Please.
What's wrong with everybody getting along at the table? Why do we have to exclude anybody? We all come together at the table and everybody gets, I mean, we're all for oil. There's a way to do this the right way. Maybe I should go play piano there.
Okay. Those are beautiful dreams. Beautiful dreams. While we're talking about happy things dealing with Israel, I have more happy things. I intend to leave you today smiling. Are you ready? The Likud party, that's Bibi's party, has agreed to a demand from the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi parties, to end official state recognition of conversions performed outside of the chief rabbinate. The chief rabbinate has been under attack for its exclusive monopoly, even within the Orthodox community. You do understand that the chief rabbinate does not represent Orthodoxy as a whole. It represents a narrow band of ultra-Orthodox. They have control of conversion. The Israeli High Court insisted and ruled that even within the Orthodox community, other standing communities have the right to convert, and not just the chief rabbinate's group. So for the past few years, ultra-Orthodox, Orthodox communities have run their own conversion I'm not talking reform. Run their own conversion programs. Likud has now said, we're going to shut them down, strengthening the power of the chief rabbinate. Next. March 2021, the High Court of Justice ruled that any conversion performed by listen to this, by an established community in Israel, including Reform Conservative, would be recognized by the state for the purposes of citizenship, not for the purposes of Jewish status. This new government is forming around an anti-high court commitment. It is going to pass a statute that the Knesset has the right to override a high court decision. If that happens, and it looks likely down the road, we are going to be, I know this is being recorded, so I'm going to control my language. We are going to be in deep doo-doo, because that means that all of the gains the Reform, Conservative, non-Orthodox, secular communities have made in Israel will be overthrown, because these gains were made through the High Court. Do you understand what that means? That means, if it happens, but the coalition agreements contain the commitment, but it hasn't been voted. If that happens, women's political posters in Jerusalem will not be allowed to have their women's pictures. Women's pictures on bus ads will be forbidden. The arresting of someone who says to a woman who sits next to him on a bus, "Get out of here, I will not let you sit next to me, you are a woman, poo." That being illegal will be annulled. You understand what we're talking about? Each day, as the coalition agreements form, they get worse and worse. One of the Knesset's most far-right politicians, he's the only member of his party, Noam, N-O-A-M, in the Knesset. But he has a seat that Bibi needs to become prime minister. So he exacted a high price. The guy's name is Avi Maoz. Maoz. I transported letters. Avi Maoz. He will become, by signed agreement now, a deputy minister, member of the cabinet in the new government. Wait, what does he stand for, this guy? He is opposed to Jewish pluralism. He is opposed to any protecting of rights of LGBTQ plus people. Opposed. Every such law must be annulled. He is opposed to any law protecting equality of women in business, in salary, in politics, in education, in anything.
Spell his name, Rabbi. Please spell his name.
Maoz is his last name. Maoz.
Thank you.
Maoz.
Okay.
And he is opposed to allowing Arabs to have any political position within an Israeli government. This man, Avi Maoz, will become a deputy cabinet minister in the new Bibi government. He will be given authority. Please, if some of you take pills for heart issues, take a pill as I continue. Just take a pill now. Take one. His job, he is responsible for the promoting of Jewish identity in Israel. Everyone's still breathing? Are you with me?
Yeah, we're here.
He will be responsible for developing, strengthening Jewish identity in Israel, which is great, which means no reform, no conservative, no women, no gays, no Arabs. Okay.
If he lives that long.
His whole life.
God will take care of him.
He is demanding that the IDF, Tzahal, the Israeli army, close their gender affairs unit that promotes and secures and defends women's rights within the military. He wants that shut down. He wants to shut down the egalitarian prayer place at the wall that was given as a little throwaway to the reform and conservative movements. But that space, he wants shut down. And lastly, he wants to legalize gender segregation at all public events.
I have hope here. I want to say something, Rabbi. May I please? There was a prayer that I prayed that God would sabotage Putin's pipelines, and it came through the news that it happened. I'm going to pray this man does not get elected.
It's too late. He is elected, and they've signed an agreement. He will be deputy chair, responsible for Jewish identity in the state of Israel. Now, he wants stricter national observance of Shabbat, which means like in Tel Aviv, in Haifa, you can have buses on Shabbat. All that'll be gone. Strengthen the Orthodox monopoly. He has publicly compared LGBTQ plus people and Reform Jews as Nazis. That's a quote. They're Nazis, okay? Okay. So while we're being happy, I hope to see you in 2 weeks again, or you may not. I mean, I'm just trying to keep you up to date here. The party of Itamar Ben-Gvir. Now, you remember, I told you to remember his name, right? Did I say that? Did I say the name would be coming up and I told you to learn the name? I'm telling you again, because rarely, but here it is, I'm right. This Kahana follower now has signed a coalition agreement with Bibi to become a full cabinet minister in the new government. An advocate of Meir Kahana's racism will now have a full cabinet. Wait! He's also going to be part of the internal security cabinet, the small group of people who make the horrible decisions about life and death and war and responding to terrorist events and so forth. He is going to be part of the internal security cabinet. What will his job be? This follower of Kahana will become minister in charge of internal national security in Israel, which means West Bank, Israel proper,
Dan, where does Naftali Bennett fit in there?
okay, I'm sorry?
Where does Naftali Bennett fit in there?
Great question.
Well, Steve, you want to answer?
No, I have a question.
Okay, the answer, Naftali Bennett has retired from the Knesset. He retired from politics. He's retiring.
I think it was just called who was going to be called the new Minister of Defense and then instead became the Minister of what, Safety or something?
Yeah, well, Smotrich was the other guy, and they're going back and forth. But to be clear, Naftali Bennett, who is no friend of Jewish pluralism, but did a hell of an honest job in his half service as prime minister of not bringing to the floor of the Knesset things that would rip the government apart. He did a great job. He and Lapid did an unusually good job. Lapid is still in the government, still in the Knesset, but Bennett, who is a high-tech multimillionaire, temporarily at least withdrew. Risa, did I answer your question? Okay, now I have one more thing to go before I get to the questions I see in front of me. Ben-Gvir, Kahanist, has chosen his new chief of staff. And I think that's very nice. I wanted to have a chief of staff. I ended up with a cat. But he has chosen Hanamel Dorfman. The Shin Bet has a file on Dorfman. He is a registered threat to public safety, according to the Shin Bet. Did you hear what I just said? Gvir will have as his chief of staff a man with an open file at the Shin Bet as a threat to public security. Ben-Gvir also have responsibility for overseeing the police in Israel, whom he has previously described as racist and anti-Semitic. Okay, Steve Miller.
My question is, what exactly is the status of the Basic Law of 1985? Can the Knesset, just by majority vote, enact laws that it prohibits?
Steve, you asked that with me, I think, in a written question.
Yeah, and you give me a half answer, so that's why I'm asking again.
I, of course, I answered completely with integrity and said that unfortunately, the meaning of that basic law is subject to enough question that it can be interpreted differently than we would like. They would then bring it to the, dare I say, High Court. And if the High Court doesn't challenge this, the Knesset can override the High Court. We're in a bad place. Israel does not have a constitution. The basic laws were supposed to be the building blocks of that constitution. But if they bring down the High Court, there is nothing that will stand between the ultra-radical, racist, right-wing government that's coming into place and getting what they want. Nothing. Not legally. Okay? I see.
How do we keep the court there, Rabbi?
Okay, I see Rebecca.
Last week at a pre-Thanksgiving dinner with cousins, my cousin, who I don't really know very well, brought her partner, who's Israeli. And so at the end of the dinner, I was able to talk to her partner, and I said, well, what's your thoughts? And he said he's still liberal, but many of his Israeli liberal friends have now become more conservative, and that this is what a majority of the Israelis want. They want a more conservative government because the liberals did not get it done. But he said, no one asked me.
Again, I have to thank you for a very important comment. It's not that this is happening despite the awareness and the resistance of the Israeli public. It is happening because with a relatively slim majority, but a clear majority, Bibi is putting together a government which can do an awful lot that we would consider to be extremely negative. I'm gonna, wrap up in the minute 22 seconds I have. Michael, you had your hand up. I want to give you a quickie. Go ahead.
This might not be a quickie. I'm not super familiar with the structure of the Israeli government. I was going to ask who controls the high courts, who controls the Knesset, and how are those leaders selected?
I can answer that very briefly. The High Court, according to the standard laws by which Israel has operated since 1948, is an independent organization. The judges are vetted and approved by a combination Citizens Committee and Knesset Committee. What's happening now is that the new government wants to take total control into the hands of the Knesset, so that if the Knesset has a Bibi majority of 3, they can overthrow everything that the Knesset currently does or has approved. Very, very dangerous. I'm gonna say this. We belong to Jewish organizations. The normal response from busy people would be to flee. And I am begging you to exercise your influence in every Jewish organization to which you belong, to demand public discussion and involvement in working to support the forces of liberalism in Israel. I know what I'm saying. I could get kicked out into the street tomorrow for this position. I mean that seriously. But whatever Jewish group you belong to, here comes Stanley, must put on the agenda, what can we do today to actively support the still lively and vibrant forces of liberalism in Israel? We cannot take our pain, turn it into indifference, and turn our backs. That's where I stand. That's where I stand. Michael, you got to run. Thanks, Rabbi. Okay, Michael, you could do it. You're the kind of person, Michael, who just left. Okay, Michael, okay, you could do it. And Michael, you're the kind of person who could do it. Don't turn your back. Turn your brain and your energy at a time when it's really needed. On that happy note, I say to you, oy vey.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.